where the sky meets the sea. This story is in 5 parts. Please look in our page for the remaining parts. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Part 4, The Bridge. Aiden moved back into the city at the start of the new year. And for a while, it felt like the universe had aligned just enough to give them a second chance, one they were determined not to waste. Evelyn had always believed in structure, in timing and logic, and things that could be proven. But what was unfolding between them now didn't belong to any checklist. It wasn't about fixing the past. It was about building something new atop the ashes. And slowly, their life began to form a rhythm. Mornings were for rushed coffee and forehead kisses. Evenings meant shared dinners, sometimes with friends, sometimes in silence. On weekends, they wandered art galleries or explored bookshops and scribbled dreams on napkins. One of those dreams was about a place of their own. Not her apartment, not a studio, something together. They found it in late February. A sun-drenched loft with paint-streaked floorboards and a creaky balcony that overlooked the park. The rent was ridiculous, the plumbing unpredictable, but when they stepped inside, Evelyn smiled at Aiden and whispered, "This feels like us." So they signed the lease. The first night in the new place, they lay on the hardwood floor surrounded by boxes and half-eaten pizza. Aiden rested his head on her stomach and stared at the ceiling. "We really did this," he murmured. "Yeah," she whispered back. "We really did." They didn't need everything to be perfect. They just needed it to be theirs. But even when love feels right, healing isn't linear. In March, Evelyn was assigned a case involving domestic abuse. The victim, a young woman named Lily, reminded her of herself, of all the things she'd buried after her time with Luke, all the bruises she hid in the spaces between her ribs. Evelyn threw herself into the case with the kind of fire that burned too hot. She barely slept, skipped meals, snapped at Aiden for things that didn't matter. And though he tried to give her space, he could see her cracking. One night, after she came home and slammed the door behind her, he reached for her gently. "Ev," he said, voice low. "Talk to me?" "I can't," she snapped, pulling away. "Then yell, cry, sit with me, but don't shut me out." She stood frozen in the kitchen, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't know how to be okay and strong at the same time." "You don't have to be both," he said. "Not with me." She sank to the floor then, finally letting the tears fall. And Aiden held her until she could breathe again. After the trial ended and Lily won. Thanks in large part to Evelyn's fire, Aiden surprised her with a weekend getaway. A coastal town, a lighthouse, a quiet inn with thick blankets and no phone reception. On the second night, they climbed to the top of the lighthouse to watch the sunset. Evelyn leaned into him, the wind catching in her hair. "You know what scares me most?" He looked at her, waiting, that I'll ruin this, that something in me is still broken. Aiden reached for her hand. Then we'll be two broken things learning to hold each other right. She let that truth settle into her bones. Maybe that was love, not fixing, but holding. Spring arrived slowly. They filled their new loft with mismatched furniture and framed art pieces Aiden had drawn of places they loved. Evelyn started a small Sunday ritual, tea and poetry on the balcony. Aiden read every line, even the ones that scared her to share. They grew closer not just through joy, but through honest grief. He told her about his father, who'd walked out when he was a boy, about how art had become a language when words failed. She told him about Luke, really told him, not just the facts, but the way it felt to wake up every day afraid to breathe too loudly. One afternoon, she found a sketch taped to the fridge. It was her, standing on a cliff's edge, wind in her hair. Not fragile, not afraid, just whole. Beneath it, he'd written, "You've always been your own lighthouse." May brought something unexpected, a call from a university Evelyn had spoken at months ago. "We're expanding our legal advocacy program," the dean said. "Would you consider teaching part-time? It's flexible. You'd help train the next wave of public defenders." Evelyn stared at the email for a long time. "I don't know if I'm ready to be a mentor," she told Aiden that night. He set his sketchbook down. "Ev, you already are. To Lily. To your team. To me?" She blinked. "You?" He smiled. "You taught me how to stay, how to be still, how to come home." They took the teaching job. They didn't overthink it, just said yes. And maybe that became a theme, saying yes to growth, to risk, to trying. By summer, they'd built something strong, not flawless, but rooted. Aiden's community mural project expanded into a full city initiative. Evelyn's course filled in the first 2 weeks. with a wait list already growing. Still, every so often, doubt would creep in, especially late at night. One evening, Evelyn woke from a dream she couldn't remember and found herself crying in the dark. Aiden stirred beside her. "What is it?" She shook her head. "I don't know. I get scared we're going to lose this again." He pulled her close. "We're not the people who lost it the first time. And if we mess up, then we'll rebuild, brick by brick, again and again." In late June, they returned to the bridge where they'd once stood as strangers who became something more. The pain had faded. The lock they once carved their initials into was rusted, hanging like a memory that survived the storm. Aiden turned to her, pulled something from his pocket. A new lock, shiny gold, simple. He handed her the marker. "This time," he said, "we write it together." So they did. E+A. Not perfect, but forever trying. Please check in the playlist for Part 5, The Horizon,